Keith from Allocations, and I'm going to give you a quick rundown of our 2024 Tax Manager taxes dashboard. You can see where I found this. If you log into your account and click on taxes on the left hand side and then the sub tab of Fund Manager, that will bring up a list of your SPVs. If you're in the Fund Manager view, toggle over to this side. If you're an investor as well as a fund manager in SPVs, you can see the SPVs that you have returns for as an investor in the investor tab over here. You'll want to make sure that the year selected is 2024. If it's any other year, you'll be looking at previous year's returns and would be unable to edit it then. I've pulled up the 2023 closes test deal LLC, which we can see has a status of needs approval, which means that I have not yet reviewed the data that gets fed into our tax returns. In order to do so, I'm going to go to the right hand side here and click View Detail. If you were a fund manager last year, this is going to look pretty familiar to you. We have made some improvements. You can see where we're at on the top of the screen, what exactly the status is. Once we go through and approve all of the information in this SPV, it will move from approved for preparation to allocations review. At that point, allocations will review the final draft to make sure that there isn't any errors. And if you've approved and signed off on the return and there hasn't been any significant changes, we can go ahead and file it with the IRS. There are short descriptions of what these statuses mean at the top. Underneath the entity name, you can see there are several subcategories of information, starting with the general entity information, including the entity name, the entity's EIN, formation date, address, and whatnot. Some of these fields are going to be editable by you, such as the formation date and address. Some of them, if you want to change, you'll need to reach out to allocations to update, such as the EIN or entity name of the LLC. Behind that is the signatory page, which includes the information of the partnership representative, the investor's information, which is the personal information used on the K-1s for the investors, as well as their investment information, and then any fund expenses, closes, and then when the drafts are generated, you'll be able to see them here, and once they look good, you can approve the information. In order to update the information, like I said before, all you have to do is edit the information that you want to change. For example, if the address on file for the SPV has been updated, just as a quick aside, in previous years we've allowed the SPVs to use the allocations address. We've received some updated guidance that it should be the fund manager's address, as this should be the point of contact if the IRS needs to reach out. So if you previously had used the allocations address, you'll want to update this, or if you changed your fund manager's address in the last year, you will also want to update this. And you can go ahead and we'll say that this has moved up the street to 530 Fifth Avenue, New York, and click save. This can take a second to update, and we'll give it a second. Okay, you can see the street address. The save icon is no longer highlighted, indicating that the street address has been updated. If you want to double check it, you can just go click on the drafts tab and it'll pull down the new version of the 1065. And when you look for the address, the 1065 is now showing the updated address. Looking at the signatory page, this is the partnership representative of the SPV. This should be you as a fund manager. If you're representing an entity such as a venture capital firm, the firm can be the partnership representative, but if you are using an LLC or some other entity, then you'll need to fill in what's called the designated individual. So if, say for example, we had Keith Fund Manager as the manager previously, and we wanted to have the manager entity be my venture fund, I would update that here, and we'll show you the designated individual fields in just a moment. All right, You can see now the partnership representative is showing Vandelay Industries LLC. I think they focus on importing and exporting companies as their investment targets. And the designated individual underneath Vandelay Industries is Art Vandelay. Clicking through to the Investors tab, you'll see all of the personal information of the investors. All of this information is editable by you. The number one request we get through tax season is investors saying that they've moved and they need to update their address on their K1s. This is now something that you can do directly on the tax dashboard. If you update any of the investor's address, you will be prompted to save, and that will feed directly into the K1s. The Investments tab, however, is not going to be editable by you. If you want something updated in this section, you'll need to reach out to support@allocations.com. If you click the Create a Support Ticket button, you can open up a question that way, and that comes directly to our taxes box with the request that you have. Here you can see all the information in a fairly straightforward way: the subscription amount, wire date, management fees, and then the starting and ending capital balance as of 12/31/2024. Again, the Expenses tab, this should be pretty straightforward. If you have management fees or paying third parties, you would see this here. If you don't see it here, you can go ahead and click Add Expense and add the date that the expense occurred, the amount, what it was for, and that will update here in just a second. You can see the description of the expenses has been added, and we'll assume that this is the only expense for the 2024 year. Closes, this is the date that you sent money to the portfolio company, and if this is correct, what was correct as of 2023, then it's probably correct in 2024 unless you're at a subsequent close. If you need to add a close, then you can go ahead and create a support ticket, and we'll add that in. Lastly, you'll have access to the draft K1s. We previewed this a little bit, and this is all of the information that comes from all of the other tabs aggregated. So as you update the information up here, it will feed in directly into the 1065 K1s. You can also access the individual K1s by clicking the K1s button, and you can download them individually if one of your investors is having trouble or can't access it, or you just want to look at an individual one yourself. If everything looks good, then you'll go ahead down to the Approval tab and write your name. And approve. Once I click the approve button, this will allow for us to file the return with the IRS. It acts as a digital signature on the form 8879, allowing for e-filing of the 1065. And you'll see that now the status is allocations review. Our tax team will review the 1065 for any final mistakes or updates that need to be changed or something that doesn't make sense. And if everything looks good, then we'll go ahead and file it with the IRS. If there's an issue, then we'll move it back into ready for approval and let you know so that you can review the changes that we've made, and we'll reach out as well. If you have any questions, reach out to support@allocations.com, and we're looking forward to working with you this tax season.